So we are on day 19 of Sichos HaRan. We're up to Sicha Yud Dalet for today. Just going to begin today, like every day, by taking a breath and taking a moment to just settle myself and invite everyone listening to settle themselves as well. Sicha Yud Dalet happens to be connected to what is one of my favorite Torahs in Likutei Moharan. So really, the piece is divided into two paragraphs. One paragraph Aleph is very, very short. It's only a few lines long, but it is focused on something a little bit different from paragraph base. So we're going to split it up into 2 days, especially because paragraph Aleph gives us an opportunity to just talk through another piece from Likutei Moharan that relates to it and actually says the same thing, but expands on it quite a bit. So Sicha Yud Dalet begins as follows: Ani mekaneh ma'od ish kaporin erlich Yehudi. Rabbi Nachman says, I'm very, very jealous of what we can call an ish kasher, or what people call an erlich yid, an upstanding person. An upstanding person. There's no way there. I don't think there's a great way to translate erlich. Erlich, it's interesting. I think we find in Rav Wolbe's Alei Shur, where he rails against frumkeit and the idea that it's important to be frum, and he emphasizes that frumkeit is really an external expression of social standing and how we dress and what part of the community we live in, and it's an externalization of erlichness. But much more important is being an erlichal person. And what's so fascinating, what's so amazing about being an erlichal person, Rabbi Nachman says, "Ki nidme sheholech ben adam im dakin v'karkasho seivarim kishar kol b'nei adam ha'olam."
Are they
Because
doing the funeral in here?
a person can be walking around
Are they starting the
with
funeral in here?
the same
Are they doing the
organs.
funeral in here? Oh, okay, gotcha.
Neil, you're on mute. Thank you. Thank you. So a kinid mesholech ben adam im dakim v'karkashos evarim kishar kol olam, because an ish kosher can be walking around with the same limbs and the same organs and the same innards as anyone else. V'afal pikein, and nevertheless, ve'emes hu inyan acher legamri. Nevertheless, despite the fact that they look the same, or they seem to be the same in a material sense, they are an entirely different thing. Inyan Afar Lagami, they're a whole different thing than everybody else walking around. Ki ish kasher yakar ma'od ashrelo, because an ish kasher is very, very, very dear. Ashrelo, and is very praiseworthy. Praiseworthy to an ish kasher for being able to be an ish kasher. So this idea of an ish kasher floating around, walking around, looking the way everything else looks out there, because there's no external difference between an ish kasher and a regular person. This idea is quoted and developed much at greater length in Likutei Moharan, Chelek Beis, Torah Kuf Zayin, which is a fascinating Torah in general. I find that it often elicits either very positive responses or very negative responses from people, depending on what their opinions are about Eretz Yisrael in general and how they relate to Eretz. It's a Torah about Eretz Yisrael. I just want to read through the Torah because it's a really fascinating one. I'm going to skip around a little bit because we don't have time to read through the entire thing, although it's not very long. But I want to read some of it at least because it's very poignant and it really drives home what he's trying to say here about Ish Kasher. So the Torah begins as follows. It says, Sifer Kishaya Beretz Yisrael, Sipura Lo Sham HaChoshkim Shayu Sham Shabom Medinat Elu V'Tavu Dirasam Sham Beretz Yisrael K'Mitzvah Me'Korsim. Rabbi Nachman says that when he was in Eretz Yisrael, so he had people, holy people, Chashuvim there, who were from the earliest Hasidim who immigrated to Eretz Yisrael in the 1770s. Rabbi Nachman is visiting Eretz Yisrael 20 years after that. And he's speaking to these people, and they tell him that they came from overseas, they came from Eastern Europe. V'sipru lo shekodem shayu be'Eretz Yisrael lo hayu yachol l'tzayer la'atzman she'Eretz Yisrael hi omedas b'zeh olam. And before they came to Eretz Yisrael, they couldn't possibly imagine how it could be. They couldn't picture in their own minds how it could be that Eretz Yisrael is a place that exists within this world. While you Sovrim, Eretz Yisrael who olam hafel legami, they thought that Eretz Yisrael must be an entirely different universe. It must exist in some other plane, some otherworldly reality. Why? Let's see. Go to Kedusha Eretz Yisrael. My word, it's form of cross the person. It's a mile Kedusha Eretz Yisrael. Why did they think this? Because the greatness of Eretz Yisrael, the holiness of Eretz Yisrael, the exaltedness and the beauty of Eretz Yisrael are spoken about again and again and again in the Svarim and in Torah and so on. The Torah itself spends time detailing the borders of Eretz Yisrael, each and every point along the border, in order to communicate how wonderful and great Eretz Yisrael is. They couldn't imagine that Eretz Yisrael possibly exists in this world. If everything that they say about Eretz Yisrael is true, then how can it be a worldly place? Until they came there. They came there, they actually arrived, they landed and they stepped foot in Eretz Yisrael, and they realized it really is right here in this world. They told Rabbi Nachman, they said, we came to Eretz Yisrael, these are not small people, these are giants of Torah, giants of the earliest Hasidim, the Talmidei Habesh, who went to Eretz Yisrael. And they said that we came to Eretz Yisrael and we found that Eretz Yisrael was just like any other place. It's just like Eastern Europe. The earth, the dirt of Eretz Yisrael is just dirt. Zehu Raka Makomos Partayim, the Gambim Dinazunim, so offer Lavan, Va'afar Shal Nasa Rekama Makomos. And even when they, bring back jars, it's fascinating that apparently even back in the late 1700s, people are shipping jars of Eretz Yisrael dirt, and they're sending jars of white dirt back to Europe and selling them. And they got there and they said, well, yeah, but even though there's white dirt in Eretz Yisrael, guess what? Here too, in Europe, there are also places where there's white dirt. But the dirt is just dirt, like our dirt. Because in appearance, in external appearance and material reality and the way it looks and feels and smells, etc., etc., it's just like any other place. There are beautiful places everywhere. The world is a beautiful place. And there are many beautiful places in Eretz Yisrael too. But they're just like the other beautiful places. And perhaps even on a physical, material level, less beautiful. Eretz Yisrael has no Alps. Eretz Yisrael has no, choose your favorite place, though. But Eretz Yisrael has a fascinating topography. It's a fascinating and incredible place. And there are many other fascinating, incredible places in the world if you travel far and wide and you find them. But nevertheless, they said, he kedusha ma'od betachlis hakedusha atzuma v'nora ma'od. It looks the same on the outside. It appears to be just like Ukraine. It appears to be just like Eastern Europe, but its kedusha is beyond what we can fathom. It's the highest, ultimate form of kedusha. Atzuma v'nora ma'od. Ashrei hazocha lahalo sham afilu arba amos. How lucky is someone who gets to walk there even for 4 amos kasher fliga rabbeinu. The Chazal taught b'chol tzvarim ba'otim kedushat zagadol v'nora. Although Eretz Yisrael looks like everything else, and it seems like it's just a regular place like every other place, despite that fact, it's incredibly kadosh, it's incredibly lofty, but its loftiness and its specialness exists in a realm that is beyond the external physicality of the thing. And Erlich Hayid and Ish Kasher exist inheres in something that is beyond the external features of the person. Rabbi Nachman in that Torah goes on to talk about a tzaddik. Tzaddikim look like regular people. There are many tzaddikim that don't look like regular people, I guess. Where there are many people who style themselves to be tzaddikim that don't look like regular people. They wear special clothes and they speak special ways and they conduct themselves in certain ways. So Rabbi Nachman is saying, tzaddikim, real tzaddikim, they look like everybody else. There's externally in the material aspect of the person. There's no difference between the tzaddik and the regular person. There's no difference between the ish kasher and the regular person. There's no difference between Eretz Yisrael and the regular place. Kedusha inheres not in the material, but in the immaterial. Erlichkeit is not in my material being, my physical being. Erlichkeit lives somewhere in the immaterial world. What makes me Erlich, or what makes me kosher, what makes someone a tzaddik, what makes Eretz Yisrael, is something much, much deeper and much more special and much less definable and something less measurable than what I can put my finger on and point to and see and smell and taste and so on and so forth. And those things are just the externals, those things are the material things. And in the material things, there's no real difference between anything. The chitzonius. The chitzonius can be mezuzah. But it doesn't look like it's mezuzah. The zifuk of the kelim, the zifuk of the materiality of Eretz Yisrael is not in the materiality. The zifuk itself is something inchoate, or something intangible, something immaterial. And this is true about Eretz Yisrael. This is true also about people. What makes a person special, what makes a person someone that Rabbi Nachman can say, Ani mekana ma'od, I'm very jealous of such people, is the spiritual quality of the person. The spiritual quality of the person might express itself in physical form, but the spirituality is not physical. It's revealed perhaps within the physical in certain ways, but it's not the physical thing. And he goes on in paragraph page. I'm just going to read the first couple of words of paragraph page because it drives home the point that he's trying to get. What are we talking about? What makes the Erlichkeit? What makes the kashrus of a person? Va'ikr hu haratzon va'kisufim. The ikr is the ratzon of a person and the kisufim of a person, the desire of a person, the yearning and the longing and the hope and the trying and the working towards that exists within a person. That is something immaterial. That's something that exists in the supra-physical space of what I want, what I'm trying to do, what I'm working towards. Not the work itself. The work itself is a maisa. The actions I do are a maisa. The output is material reality. But in the internal will and longing that exists within me, that is where kashrus exists. That's where erlichkeit exists. If it's really, really there, it will inevitably express itself in certain ways. But the fact that it looks a certain way on the outside doesn't mean it's not there. And based on what he said until now in the last few Sichos, in a certain sense, Rabbi Nachman could be saying that I'm jealous of those for whom it doesn't express itself externally, because those people are the ones who have ratzon and have kisufim and have work and face challenges and work at those challenges and keep going and keep taking another step forward and another step forward, even though it seems like they're not getting anywhere. And that is the bechina of karbanos, in a way that when I achieve things, that bechina is absent. So we'll continue in Mertzeshem tomorrow, expanding on this and taking it in a slightly different direction again with paragraph Bays of Sicha Yudalid. But the important message of paragraph Aleph of Sicha Yudalid is really that things can look the way they look on the outside, but erlichkeit and kashrus and kedusha are something that exists beyond material. And we should be careful both judging others and judging ourselves, and also judging truly, I think, also HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and evaluating situations that we find ourselves in, whether they're positive or negative, in terms of the external appearance of those situations and those people, rather than the inchoate, immaterial kedusha, the ratzon and the kusufim, the nitzot that's present within those things. Have a good day.